My wife, the woman I've loved for 10 years, the mother of my children, stood across from me at our anniversary dinner, her face ashen, tears streaming down her cheeks, as a man I'd never seen before. A man named Leo casually walked up to our table and said, "Happy anniversary, my love." Or should I say, our anniversary. Can you even begin to imagine the ice that just solidified in my veins? Was I wrong for the way I reacted? Tell me if you would have just sat there and let that happen to you. I swear, my entire world, everything I thought I knew, shattered into a million pieces right there in front of the creme brulee. It all started, as most love stories do, with a chance encounter. I met Sarah at a coffee shop 10 years ago. She was working there part-time while finishing her degree, and I was just a regular who couldn't get enough of her smile and the way she'd always remember my ridiculously specific coffee order. From the moment our eyes met, I felt an undeniable pull, a connection that felt destined. She was radiant, witty, and had this amazing ability to make me feel like I was the only person in the room. We started dating, and it was a whirlwind romance. Everything felt right, natural, almost too perfect. We shared everything: our dreams, our fears, our pasts, or so I thought. She told me about her family, her struggles with student debt, her aspirations to be a teacher. She never mentioned a serious past relationship, certainly not one that ended dramatically or left any lingering feelings. I, on the other hand, laid it all out. My awkward teenage years, my less than stellar college dating history, the one serious girlfriend who broke my heart before I met Sarah. I believed in complete honesty, and I expected the same. We got married 2 years later in a beautiful, intimate ceremony. Our vows were heartfelt, promising forever, through sickness and health, through good times and bad, with complete trust and transparency as our foundation. Our life together was beautiful. We had 2 amazing children, a son and a daughter, who are truly the light of our lives. We built a comfortable home, created traditions, and navigated the usual ups and downs of married life with what I thought was unwavering teamwork and understanding. Our 10th anniversary was a huge milestone for us. We'd planned a special dinner at a fancy restaurant, one we rarely splurged on. I'd bought her a beautiful necklace, and she'd hinted at a surprise gift for me too. The atmosphere was perfect: soft lighting, quiet jazz playing, and the kind of intimate setting where you could just lose yourselves in each other's company. We were reminiscing about our early days, laughing about our first date, and talking about our hopes for the next 10 years. I remember holding her hand across the table, feeling that familiar warmth and contentment, thinking how lucky I was to have found my soulmate. I truly felt like the luckiest man alive in that moment, completely oblivious to the impending storm that was about to rip through my meticulously constructed reality. The waiter had just served our dessert, a decadent creme brulee, a favorite of Sarah's, and we were about to toast to another decade of happiness when it happened. The man, Leo, just appeared out of nowhere. He wasn't loud or aggressive, which somehow made it even more terrifying. He just walked up to our table, a confident, almost smirking look on his face, and delivered that line that echoed in my head like a death knell: "Happy anniversary, my love." Or should I say, our asterisk. Anniversary. Sarah's reaction was instantaneous and gut-wrenching. Her face went from joy to pure terror in a split second. She gasped, a small, choked sound, and her hand, which had been resting in mine, pulled away as if burned. Her eyes, wide and filled with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher at first: fear, guilt, darted between me and Leo. My own mind was racing, trying to process what I was seeing and hearing. Who was this man? What did he mean by our anniversary? Was this some sick joke? I looked at Sarah, searching for an explanation, for a sign that this was a misunderstanding, but her silence, her absolute inability to meet my gaze, spoke volumes. My chest tightened, a cold dread seeping into every fiber of my being. Leo, sensing the immediate shift in dynamics, actually chuckled, a low, unsettling sound. "Oh, Sarah," he said, his voice laced with a strange mix of affection and malice, "you didn't tell him about me, did you?" That's when it hit me with the force of a physical blow. This wasn't a joke. This was real. This man was connected to my wife, to our anniversary, in a way that was clearly not innocent. I felt a surge of adrenaline, a primal instinct to protect my wife, and simultaneously, a burning betrayal. I pushed my chair back, the scrape against the floor echoing loudly in the suddenly silent restaurant. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice low and trembling with suppressed rage. My eyes were fixed on Leo, but my peripheral vision registered Sarah shrinking in her seat, her head down, refusing to look at me. Leo, still smirking, shifted his gaze to me. "Leo," he introduced himself, extending a hand that I pointedly ignored. "And Sarah and I, we have a bit of history. A very significant history, wouldn't you agree, darling?" He turned back to Sarah, his eyes boring into her. Sarah finally looked up, her eyes pleading, first at Leo, then at me. "Leo, please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Not here, not now." "Oh, but why not now, Sarah?" He pressed, his voice losing its playful edge and hardening into something more menacing. "It's our anniversary, the day we first met, the day we promised forever." Forever, my head spun, the blood pounded in my ears. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of confusion and shock. Forever, with this man, how could I have been so blind? I remember vaguely the other diners staring, their conversations dying down, the gentle jazz music suddenly feeling like a mocking soundtrack. I was aware of the absurdity of the situation, the public spectacle we were becoming, but I couldn't care less. My focus was solely on Sarah, on the woman who was supposed to be my other half, and on this stranger who was claiming a piece of our history, a piece of her history, that I knew nothing about. I felt a profound sense of disorientation, as if I had stepped into an alternate reality where everything I believed was a lie. My mind raced back through our 10 years together, searching for clues, for hints, for anything that could explain this monumental deception. Had I missed something? Was she always living a double life? The questions were relentless, battering my composure. The anger, hot and sharp, began to mingle with an even more potent feeling, hurt, deep soul, crushing hurt. So that's the situation I was in. My wife, my Sarah, was being confronted by a man claiming a shared anniversary, a promise of forever. My world had just imploded, and I had to make a choice. Do I fight this man? Do I demand answers from Sarah right here, right now, in front of everyone? Or do I retreat, try to process this privately? Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have kept your composure, or would you have let the anger take over? What would be your first move in a situation like this? I stood there, frozen for a moment, the weight of his words pressing down on me. Sarah finally found her voice, a desperate plea. "Leo, this isn't fair. This isn't how it's supposed to happen. A fair?" Leo scoffed. "Fair was you walking out on me without a word, disappearing into thin air, only to resurface married to another man, celebrating our anniversary with him. He pointed at me, his eyes now filled with pure venom. "You think that was fair to me, Sarah? The pieces started to click into place, forming a horrifying picture. This wasn't just an old flame. This was something far more significant, far more destructive. Sarah's past wasn't just a secret. It was a gaping wound that had just been torn open, spewing forth its poison onto our pristine life. I looked at Sarah, my voice a strained whisper. "What is he talking about, Sarah? What forever did you promise him?" Her eyes, filled with shame and fear, finally met mine. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. It was Leo who answered. "We were engaged, my friend, happily engaged, living together, planning our wedding until she vanished. Poof, gone without a trace. I searched for her for months, called her family, even filed a missing person report, and then I saw her years later in a photo on social media with you with children, married, and still not a word to me. The revelation sucker punched me. Engaged, she was engaged to this man. She had just disappeared from his life. My mind reeled. The woman I married, the woman I trusted implicitly, had a history so profound and so dishonest that it felt like I was living with a stranger. The anger, which had been simmering, now boiled over. I couldn't hold it back any longer. My voice, when it came out, was low and dangerous. "Sarah, is this true?" She nodded, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. I can explain. "Please, darling, not here." "Oh, you'll explain," I said, my voice rising, "but not here, and not to me right now. You explain to him why you disappeared from his life like a ghost, and then you explain to me why you built our entire marriage on a foundation of lies." I turned to Leo, my jaw clenched. "Whatever history you two have, it's between you. I'm leaving." I grabbed my car keys, slammed a few bills on the table for our half-eaten meal, and walked out without another word, without looking back at Sarah. The restaurant seemed to hold its breath as I exited. The drive home was a blur of rage and confusion. I felt sick to my stomach. My hands were shaking so badly I almost swerved off the road. When I got home, I immediately went to our bedroom and started packing a small bag. I couldn't be in the same house, couldn't breathe the same air, as someone who had so fundamentally betrayed my trust. I needed space, needed time to process this seismic shift in my reality. About an hour later, Sarah arrived home. I heard her sobbing before I saw her. She found me in the bedroom, my bag half packed. "Please, don't go," she pleaded, her eyes red and swollen. "Let me explain. I swear, it's not what you think." "Oh, really?" I spat, turning to face her, my voice devoid of any warmth. "Because what I think is that my wife was engaged to another man, vanished without a trace, and then built a decade-long marriage with me based on a lie of omission. What else am I supposed to think, Sarah?" She recounted the story, her voice choked with tears. She and Leo had been high school sweethearts, inseparable. They went to college together, moved in together, and then he proposed. They were deeply in love, planning their future. But then she started to notice things. Leo became controlling, possessive. He didn't like her having friends outside their circle, questioned her whereabouts constantly, and slowly started isolating her. He would have explosive fits of jealousy, verbally tearing her down, then showering her with apologies and gifts, promising to change. It was a classic cycle of abuse, she explained, one she was too young and too enmeshed to recognize at the time. The final straw came a few weeks before their planned wedding. He had tracked her phone, found her at a coffee shop with a male classmate working on a group project, and publicly humiliated her, accusing her of cheating. It was in that moment, she said, watching the terror in his eyes and feeling the suffocating grip of his control, that she realized she had to escape. She couldn't break off the engagement directly. She was terrified of his reaction, of what he might do. So, in a moment of desperate panic, she packed a small bag, left a note saying she needed space, and got on the first bus out of town, leaving everything behind. She changed her phone number, blocked him on social media, and moved to a city where no one knew her. She started fresh, got a new job, enrolled in classes, and slowly, painstakingly, rebuilt her life. She was a different person by the time she met me, she insisted. A stronger person, free from his control. She never told me because she was ashamed, deeply ashamed of her past, of being manipulated, and terrified that if I knew, I would judge her, or worse, that Leo would find her again and destroy the new life she had built. She convinced herself that her past was just that, the past, and that it had no bearing on our future. It was a coping mechanism, a way to bury the trauma. She wanted to believe it was a blank slate. I listened to her, my emotions warring. Part of me felt immense sympathy for the terrified young woman she had been, trapped in an abusive relationship. The other part of me, the part that felt utterly betrayed, couldn't reconcile the decade of deceit. "Why didn't you ever tell me, Sarah?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why did you let me build my entire life, our children's lives, on such a colossal lie? You promised me honesty. You promised me transparency." She wept, genuinely distraught. "I was scared, so scared. I loved you so much, and I didn't want to lose you. I thought if you knew, you would leave me. I was a coward. I know that now. I should have told you. Every day I wanted to, but the longer it went, the harder it became." We talked through the night, a raw, painful conversation that stripped away all the layers of our seemingly perfect life. She revealed how Leo had found her through a mutual friend's social media post about our anniversary, congratulating us. He had apparently been lurking, searching for her for years, and our anniversary post was the golden key. He had seen our dinner reservation on her public social media, which she had forgotten to make private. It was a terrifying reminder of his obsessive nature. The next few days were agonizing. I moved into the guest room. The children sensed the tension, asking why Mommy and Daddy weren't sleeping in the same bed. It broke my heart to see their confusion. I loved Sarah deeply. 10 years, 2 children, a lifetime of shared memories. It wasn't something you just threw away. But the betrayal, the fundamental breach of trust, felt insurmountable. The weight of her secret, the years she kept it from me, felt like a chasm that had opened between us. We decided to seek therapy, individually and then as a couple. It was a long, arduous process. Sarah had to confront her trauma, her fear, and her profound guilt. I had to grapple with my anger, my feelings of foolishness, and the shattering of my idealized view of our marriage. Leo, thankfully, never bothered us again after that night. Sarah had taken out a restraining order, and he seemed to finally understand that his pursuit was over. Over months of intense therapy, Sarah slowly, painfully, unpacked her past. I learned to distinguish between her trauma and her deceit, though the two were inextricably linked. I learned about the manipulation she endured, the fear that had driven her to flee, and the deep-seated shame that prevented her from ever speaking about it again. It wasn't an excuse for her dishonesty, but it provided context, a painful understanding. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, to look past the betrayal and see the frightened young woman who had just wanted to escape. We're still working through it. Our marriage is not the same, but in a strange way, it's stronger. It's built on a new, more honest foundation, albeit one scarred by pain. We learned that true intimacy isn't just about sharing the good, but also the messy, ugly, and traumatic parts of ourselves, and trusting that your partner will still stand by you. It's a daily choice, a continuous effort to rebuild what was broken. The Leo Revelation was the most devastating moment of my life, but it also forced us to confront the deepest parts of ourselves and our relationship. So, that's my story, my utterly unbelievable anniversary surprise. It truly blew up my life, but it also forced me to look at things differently. I learned that secrets, no matter how well intentioned or born from fear, can ultimately be more destructive than the truth. I also learned a lot about forgiveness and about the complexities of human relationships, especially when trauma is involved. If you were on my side, dealing with the shock and betrayal, please like this video. Subscribe for more stories like this, because believe me, there are plenty more Reddit tales where that came from. And please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. How would you have handled Leo that night? What would you have done with Sarah? I'll see you all in the next story.